The morning air was cold enough to freeze spit before it hit the ground. Jinho pulled his thick coat tighter around his chest as he rode his horse. Across the snowy hills of Kepler 442b, this planet was far from Earth, but it felt like home now. He had lived here for 10 years, raising cattle and fixing fences on his small ranch. Jinho was not a tall man, but he was strong. His hands were rough from years of hard work. His face was brown from the sun and wind. People in town called him the Cowboy because he wore old earth clothes and rode horses instead of flying machines like most people. Today was like any other day. He was looking for 3 missing cattle that had wandered away from the herd. The stupid animals always got lost when storms came. They would hide in caves or behind rocks and forget how to find their way home. Jinho's horse walked slowly through the deep snow. The animal's breath made white clouds in the cold air. Everything was quiet except for the sound of wind blowing through the ice-covered trees. Then Jinho heard something strange. It was a crying sound, but not like any animal he knew. It was high and sad, like a baby bird that had fallen from its nest. But there were no birds on this planet that made sounds like that. Jinho stopped his horse and listened. The crying came again. It was weak and far away, but he could hear it clearly in the still air. "What the hell is that?" Jinho said to his horse. The animal's ears turned toward the sound too. The crying was coming from the old crater valley, a place where a space rock had hit the ground many years ago. Most people stayed away from there because the ground was not safe. There were deep holes filled with ice that never melted, even in summer, but Jinho was not like most people. When he heard something in trouble, he could not walk away. His wife Minji always said this would get him killed someday. She was probably right. Jinho turned his horse toward the valley. The crying sound came again, weaker this time. Whatever was making that noise was hurt or scared or both. The valley was a strange place. The crater was huge, maybe 200 meters. Across, at the bottom, was a pond that had been frozen solid for as long as anyone could remember. The ice was thick and blue-white, like looking through colored glass. Jinho rode down the slope carefully. His horse did not like this place. The animal kept trying to turn around and go back up the hill. "Easy, girl," Jinho said, patting the horse's neck. "Just a quick look." When he got closer to the pond, Jinho heard the crying again. It was coming from under the ice. Something was trapped down there. Jinho got off his horse and walked to the edge of the pond. He knelt down and put his ear against the ice. The crying was definitely coming from below. It sounded like a small animal, maybe hurt and definitely scared. "How did you get down there?" Jinho asked the ice. He looked around the pond. There were strange marks in the snow near one edge. They looked like scratches made by claws, but they were small. Whatever had made them was not very big. Jinho followed the marks. They led to a spot where the snow was melted in a weird pattern. It looked like something very hot had hit the ground here 3 or 4 days ago. The scratches went from this spot straight to the pond. "You fell through the ice," Jinho said, understanding what had happened. "And then the ice froze over again, trapping you." The crying came again, so weak now that Jinho almost could not hear it. Most people would have left. Most people would have said there was nothing they could do. The ice was too thick to break with bare hands. Whatever was down there was probably going to die anyway. But Jinho was not most people. He went back to his horse and took out his plasma cutter. It was a small tool he used to cut metal fence posts. It was not meant for cutting ice, but it was all he had. Jinho went back to the pond and found the spot where the crying was loudest. He turned on the plasma cutter. The blue flame was very hot, hot enough to melt through almost anything. "Hang on down there," Jinho said. "I'm coming." He started cutting the ice very slowly. He had to be careful not to hurt whatever was trapped. Below, the ice was much thicker than he had thought. It was like cutting through solid rock. Steam rose up from where the plasma flame touched the ice. Jinho's face got wet from the melting water. His hands started to hurt from the cold, but he kept working. After an hour, he had only cut through half the ice. His plasma cutter was getting low on power. The crying from below had stopped completely. "Don't you die on me," Jinho said to the ice. "Not after I've come this far." He worked faster, cutting bigger pieces of ice and pushing them aside. Water started to fill the hole he was making. Whatever was down there would drown if he was not quick enough. Finally, after 2 more hours, Jinho broke through. Water rushed up through the hole, and something small and blue floated to the surface. It was not any animal Jinho had ever seen before. The creature was about the size of a house cat, but it had scales instead of fur. The scales were blue and silver and seemed to shine even in the gray light. It had tiny wings folded against its back and a long tail, with spines along the edge. It looked like a baby dragon from old Earth stories, but dragons were not real. Everyone knew that the little creature was not moving. Its eyes were closed and its breathing was very slow and weak. Jinho reached into the cold water and picked up the dragon. Its body was warm, much warmer than it should be after being trapped in ice for days. "What are you?" Jinho whispered. The dragon's eyes opened. They were bright purple, like jewels. It looked at Jinho and made a small sound. Not crying this time, but something that sounded almost like a purr. Then it closed its eyes again and went limp in Jinho's hands. Jinho wrapped the little dragon in his coat and ran to his horse. Whatever this creature was, it was dying. And Jinho was not going to let that happen, not on his watch. Jinho's horse ran as fast as it could through the deep snow. The little blue creature was wrapped tight in his coat, pressed against his chest. He could feel how cold the creature was, even though its body seemed to make its own heat. The ride back to his ranch took 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. Jinho kept looking down at the small dragon in his arms. Its breathing was very slow and weak. Sometimes it would stop breathing for a few seconds, and Jinho would think it was dead. Then it would take another small breath. "Stay with me," Jinho whispered. "Just stay with me." His ranch house sat in a small valley between 2 hills. It was not a big house, but it was warm and safe. Smoke was coming from the chimney, which meant his wife Minji was home. Jinho jumped off his horse before it had fully stopped. He ran to the front door and kicked it open with his boot. "Minji!" he shouted. "I need help!" His wife came running from the kitchen. Minji was a small woman with kind eyes and quick hands. She had been a scientist before they moved to this planet, and she knew about animals and medicine. "What happened?" she asked. Then she saw the blue creature in Jinho's arms. Her eyes went wide. "I found it trapped under ice," Jinho said quickly. "It was crying for help. I think it's dying." Minji did not ask more questions. She pointed to the kitchen table. "Put it there. Get me clean towels from the closet." Jinho laid the little creature on the table very gently. Under the bright kitchen lights, he could see it better. The scales on its body were beautiful, like blue and silver jewels. Its tiny wings were thin like paper, with small holes where ice had damaged them. Minji came back with her medical bag. She had used it to help sick animals on the ranch many times. She put her ear against the creature's chest to listen to its heartbeat. "The heart is beating, but very slow," she said. "Its body temperature is too low. We need to warm it up, but carefully. Too much heat too fast will kill it." She sent Jinho to get heating pads and warm blankets. While he was gone, Minji looked at the creature more closely. She had studied many alien animals in school, but she had never seen anything like this. The creature had 4 legs with small claws on each foot. Its head was long and pointed, like a lizard, but with large eyes that were closed now. Along its back were small spines that looked sharp, but were actually soft to touch. "What are you?" Minji whispered. When Jinho came back, they wrapped the creature in warm blankets and put heating pads around it. They were very careful not to make it too hot too fast. For the first hour, nothing happened. The creature just lay there, breathing slowly. Jinho and Minji took turns watching it and checking its temperature. Then, slowly, the creature's breathing got a little stronger. Its body felt warmer. The beautiful scales started to shine brighter. "It's working," Minji said with relief. They took turns staying awake all night to watch the creature. Jinho made hot coffee and soup while Minji checked the creature's pulse every hour. In the morning, something amazing happened. The creature opened its eyes. They were purple, bright, and clear like colored glass. The creature looked around the kitchen then at Jingho and Minji, it did not seem afraid. "Hello there," Minji said softly. The creature tried to lift its head. It was still weak, but much stronger than before. It made a small sound like a kitten meowing. "Are you hungry?" Jinho asked. The creature's ears perked up at the word hungry. It tried to sit up, but its legs were still too weak. Minji brought some warm milk in a small bowl. She held it near the creature's mouth. The creature sniffed the milk, then began to drink. It drank the whole bowl very quickly. "Still hungry," Jinho said with a smile. They tried different foods. The creature liked warm milk and soft meat, but it would not eat vegetables or bread. After eating, it curled up in the warm blankets and went to sleep. Over the next few days, the creature got stronger and stronger. Soon it was walking around the kitchen on shaky legs. Then it was running around the house, exploring everything. Jinho and Minji learned that the creature was very smart. It learned its name quickly when they called it Little One. It understood when they said no or come here. It even learned to come when they whistled. But the most amazing thing happened on the fourth day. Jinho was sitting in his chair reading when he suddenly had a strange feeling. He could see pictures in his mind that were not his own memories. He saw a big silver ship flying through space. He saw other creatures that looked like the Little One, but much bigger. "Minji," he called, "come here, something weird is happening." Minji came into the living room. The little creature was sitting on the floor, looking at both of them with its bright purple eyes. "I'm seeing things," Jinho said. "Pictures in my head." "Me too," Minji said with surprise. "I see a spaceship and other dragons." The little creature made happy chirping sounds. The pictures in their minds became clearer. They could see the creature's family, mother and father dragons and other babies. They were all beautiful, with scales that shine like rainbows. Then the pictures changed. They became dark and scary. Big, ugly ships with red markings were attacking the silver ship. There were explosions and fire. The little creature's mother was putting it into a small escape pod, crying. The picture stopped. The little creature looked very sad. "Your family," Minji said, understanding. "Pirates attacked your family's ship." The creature nodded its head, just like a human would. Jinho felt angry. Someone had attacked this creature's family and left a baby to die alone. That was not right. That was not something he could ignore. "We'll help you find them," Jinho said to the creature. Minji looked at her husband. "Jinho, we don't know anything about space pirates or alien families." "I don't care," Jinho said. "This little one needs help, and we're going to help." The creature seemed to understand. It walked over to Jinho and climbed onto his lap. It purred like a cat and nuzzled against his chest. At that moment, Jinho felt something change inside his heart. This little dragon was not just some animal they had rescued. It was family now, and Jinho would do anything to protect his family. 3 weeks passed, and the little dragon grew bigger every day. Jinho and Minji decided to call her Hana, which meant flower in Korean. The name fit her because she was beautiful and brought joy to their home. Hana was now the size of a medium dog. Her scales had grown brighter and stronger. The holes in her wings from the ice had healed completely. She could fly short distances around the house. Though she still got tired quickly, every morning Hana would follow Jinho outside to help with ranch work. She loved watching him feed the cattle and fix fences. The cattle were scared of her at first, but they got used to her quickly. Hana was gentle and never tried to hurt anything. Minji spent hours studying Hana and taking notes. She wanted to understand what kind of creature they had found. "I've been looking through my old science books," Minji told Jinho one evening. "I think Hana is a Drachnary." "A what?" Jinho asked. "Drachnary. They're mentioned in very old space records. They're supposed to be one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Most people think they died out thousands of years ago." Jinho looked at Hana, who was curled up by the fireplace like a big cat. "Well, they're not all dead. The books say there are very few left. Maybe less than 1,000 in the whole galaxy. They live for thousands of years and are very smart. They can also share thoughts with other creatures." This explained why Jinho and Minji could see pictures in their minds when Hana wanted to tell them something. It was not magic. It was just how dragons talked. Hannah's favorite time was evening when the three of them sat together by the fire. She would show them pictures of her homeworld. It was a beautiful place with crystal cities and purple skies. The adult dragons were magnificent, with scales that changed colors like oil on water. But Hannah also showed them sad pictures. She missed her family very much. Every night she would look at the stars through the window and make soft crying sounds. "We have to do something," Minji said one night after Hannah had fallen asleep. "She needs her real family." "I know," Jinho said. "But how do we find them? We don't even know where to start looking." The next day, their neighbor Wonho came to visit. Wonho was an old man who had lived on this planet longer than anyone else. He had been a space trader before he retired to ranch life. Wonho saw Hannah flying around the yard and nearly fell off his horse. "What in the hell is that?" he shouted. "Her name is Hannah," Jinho said. "We found her crashed in the ice pond." Wonho got off his horse very slowly, staring at Hannah the whole time. "Son, do you know what you have here?" "A dragon," Jinho said simply. "Not just any dragon, that's a Drakneri. I've never seen one in person, but I've heard stories from old space traders." Wonho's voice was full of awe. "They're worth more money than this entire planet." "She's not for sale," Jinho said firmly. "I'm not saying you should sell her," Wonho said quickly. "I'm saying you need to be very careful. There are people in the galaxy who would kill for a chance to own a Drakneri." Hannah flew over and landed on Jinho's shoulder. She looked at Wonho with her bright purple eyes and made a questioning chirp. "She wants to know if you're a friend," Jinho said. Wonho reached out slowly and touched Hannah's head. Suddenly his eyes went wide. "She's showing me pictures, a battle in space. Pirates with red ships. The Hegemony Reapers," Wonho said after. The vision ended. "Those bastards have been hunting rare aliens for years. They must have attacked her family's ship." "Do you know where they are?" Minji asked. "Nobody knows for sure. They move around a lot. But I know someone who might have information." Wonho thought for a moment. "There's a trader named Kyung who comes through here every few months. He knows all the gossip from the space stations. He's due to arrive next week." That week felt very long. Hannah seemed to sense that something important was happening. She stayed close to Jinho and Minji, following them everywhere they went. When Kyung's ship finally landed at the small spaceport near town, Jinho and Minji were waiting for him. They brought Hannah in a travel carrier so other people would not see her. Kyung was a big man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been trading in space for 30 years and had seen almost everything. But when Jinho opened the carrier and Hannah poked her head out, Kyung's mouth fell open. "Holy stars," he whispered. "Is that real?" "Very real," Jinho said, "and we need your help." They told Kyung the whole story. How they found Hannah in the ice, how she had shown them pictures of the pirate attack, and how she missed her family. Kyung listened carefully. When they finished, he was quiet for a long time. "The Reapers hit a dragon ship about 6 weeks ago," he said finally. "I heard about it at Taiyang Station. Big news like that travels fast. Do you know what happened to the dragons?" Minji asked. "The pirates kept them alive. Adult dragons are worth more money that way, but finding them..." Kyung shook his head. "The Reapers have a base somewhere in the broken asteroid belt. It's hidden and heavily protected." Hannah climbed out of her carrier and onto the table. She looked at Kyung with her purple eyes and started showing him pictures. Images of her family, in cages, scared and hurt. "She's asking me to help," Kyung said with surprise. "I can feel what she's feeling. She's so sad." Jinho put his hand on Hannah's back. "We're going to help her find them." "You?" Kyung looked shocked. "You're just a rancher. The Reapers have warships and weapons. They'll kill you before you get close." "Maybe," Jinho said, "but we have to try." Kyung stared at Jinho for a long moment. Most people would think Jinho was crazy. Most people would say it was impossible and too dangerous, but Kyung had been around the galaxy long enough to know that humans were different. They did impossible things all the time, especially when someone they cared about was in trouble. "You're Serious about this, Kyung said. Dead serious, Jinho replied. Kyung looked at Hana, who was still showing him pictures of her family. The little dragon's emotions were so strong that Kyung felt tears in his eyes. All right, Kyung said finally. I know some people who might be able to help. But this is going to be dangerous, very dangerous. We know, Minji said. And expensive. We'll need weapons, a fast ship, and people who aren't afraid to fight pirates. We'll find a way, Jinho, said Kyung smiled. You know what? I believe you will. Humans are crazy enough to pull off something like this. Hana made happy chirping sounds and nuzzled against Kyung's hand. She seemed to understand that he was going to help her family. For the first time since they found her, Hana looked hopeful. The rescue mission was about to begin. 2 months had passed since Jinho found Hana in the ice pond. The little dragon was no longer small and weak. She was now the size of a big dog, with bright blue and silver scales that caught the light like mirrors. Her wings had grown strong, enough to let her fly short distances around the ranch. But Hana was not happy. Every night she would sit by the window and make sad crying sounds. She would show Jinho and Minji pictures in their minds of other dragons like her. Her family. She missed them very much. We have to help her find them, Minji said one morning as they watched Hana stare at the sky. She needs her real family. Jinho nodded. He had been thinking the same thing for weeks. But how do you find aliens in a galaxy with billions of stars? I know someone who might help, Minji said. My old teacher from science school. His name is Dr. Kim. He works at Taiyang Station now. Taiyang Station was a big spaceport 3 days away by ship. It was not a nice place. Traders, smugglers, and criminals all came there to do business. But it was also the best place to get information about what happened in space. Jinho did not like the idea of taking Hana to such a dangerous place. But they had no choice. The little dragon was getting sadder every day. They bought tickets on a cargo ship going to Taiyang Station. The ship was old and dirty, but the captain did not ask questions about passengers who paid in cash. Hana had to hide during the trip. Most people had never seen a dragon before. They might be scared or try to catch her. Jinho made a special box with air holes where Hana could sleep during the journey. The little dragon did not like being in the box, but she understood it was necessary. She was very smart for such a young creature. Taiyang Station was everything Jinho had expected, and worse. The air smelled bad, and the lights were too bright. People pushed and shoved in the narrow hallways. Everyone looked like they were planning something illegal. Dr. Kim worked in the science section of the station. He was a small, thin man with thick glasses and gray hair. When he saw Minji, his face lit up with a big smile. Minji, it has been so long, he said, hugging her. What brings you to this terrible place? Minji looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she opened the travel bag she was carrying. Hana's small head poked out, her purple eyes looking around curiously. Dr. Kim's mouth fell open. He stared at Hana for a long time without saying anything. Is that ... double quote, he whispered. A drachnary, Minji said quietly. A baby one. We found her crashed on our planet. Dr. Kim sat down heavily in his chair. I have only seen pictures of them in old books. They are supposed to be extinct. Well, this one is not extinct, Jinho said, and she is looking for her family. We think pirates attacked their ship. Dr. Kim looked very serious. He locked the door to his office and turned on a machine that would stop people from listening to their conversation. If there are pirates hunting Drachnary, this is very bad news. He said, dragons are worth more money than most planets. Their scales can power starships for years. Their blood can heal almost any sickness. And they live for thousands of years, so they know secrets about space that other races have forgotten. Hana climbed out of the bag and sat on Dr. Kim's desk. She looked at him with her big purple eyes and made a soft humming sound. She likes you, Minji said. Dr. Kim reached out slowly and touched Hana's head. The little dragon closed her eyes and purred like a cat. She is trying to show me something, Dr. Kim said with surprise. I can see pictures in my mind. Hana was sharing her memories with the doctor. She showed him the attack on her family's ship. Big ugly ships with red markings shooting at a beautiful silver vessel, explosions and fire. Her mother pushing her into an escape pod as the ship broke apart. "The Hegemony Reapers," Dr. Kim said with anger. "I should have known. You know these pirates?" Jinho asked. "Everyone knows them. They are the worst criminals in this part of the galaxy. They hunt rare aliens and sell them to rich collectors who keep them as pets or slaves." Jinho felt sick to his stomach. The idea of someone keeping Hana in a cage made him want to hit something. "Where are they?" he asked. "No one knows for sure. They have a base somewhere in the broken asteroid belt, but it moves around. And it is protected by enough weapons to destroy a small fleet. There has to be a way to find them," Minji said. Dr. Kim thought for a moment. "There might be. I have contacts here on the station, people who hear things. If the Reapers captured a dragon family, someone will know about it. News like that spreads fast among criminals." He stood up and put on his coat. "Wait here. Do not let anyone see the dragon. I will be back in a few hours." After Dr. Kim left, Jinho and Minji sat in the locked office with Hana, the little dragon. Seemed to understand that they were trying to help her. She stayed quiet and did not make any noise. Jinho looked at Hana and thought about what they were planning to do. They were going to try to find the most dangerous pirates in the galaxy. They had no weapons, no warship, and no army. Any smart person would give up now. Any reasonable person would find Hana a nice family to adopt her and forget about the dragons, who were probably already dead. But Jinho was not smart or reasonable. He was stubborn. And when he looked at Hana's sad purple eyes, he knew he would do anything to help her find her family, even if it killed him. 3 hours later, Dr. Kim came back. His face was excited, but also worried. "I found something," he said. "The Reapers hit a dragon ship 2 months ago near the Vega system. They kept the adult dragons alive because they are worth more money that way." "Where are they now?" Jinho asked. "That is the problem. My contact says they are being held at the Reapers' main base, but getting there is impossible. The base is surrounded by asteroid fields that will crush any ship that does not know the secret path." Hana suddenly stood up on the desk. She looked very excited and started making chittering sounds. "What is she saying?" Dr. Kim asked. Dr. Minji smiled. "She says she knows the way. Dragons can sense their family across great distances. She can guide us through the asteroids." Dr. Kim shook his head. "Even if you could get there, you would need a ship and weapons and ... "I know people who can help with that," Jinho interrupted. Everyone looked at him in surprise. "What people?" Minji asked. Jinho grinned. "Smugglers. And I happen to know the best ones on this station." The asteroid belt was the most dangerous place Jinho had ever seen. Huge rocks floated through space like deadly mountains. Some were as big as cities. Others spun so fast they looked like gray blurs. Jinho sat in the pilot seat of the stolen cargo ship Lucky Star. Next to him, Day worked the controls with steady hands. His sister Nari watched the scanner screens for enemy ships. "How do you fly through this mess without getting killed?" Jinho asked. "Very carefully," Day said with a grin. "And with a lot of luck." Hana sat on Jinho's lap, her purple eyes closed in concentration. She was using her dragon senses to find her family. Every few minutes, she would point her nose in a new direction, and Day would steer the ship that way. It had taken them 3 days to get this far. 3 days of flying through empty space while Hana searched for her family's mental signals. Now they were close. Jinho could feel it. "Contact," Nari said suddenly. "Big ship, dead ahead." "It's hiding behind that asteroid." Jinho looked out the front window. The asteroid was huge and dark. He could not see any ship at first. Then the scanner found it. A massive black vessel with red markings along its sides. "That's a Reaper destroyer," Day said with worry. "It's got enough guns to blow us apart 10 times over." "Can we sneak past it?" Minji asked from the back of the ship. "Not a chance. Their scanners will see us as soon as we get close." Hana suddenly opened her eyes and made excited chirping sounds. She was showing Jinho pictures in his mind. A big space station built inside a hollow asteroid. Cages full of different alien creatures. And in the center, 3 adult dragons with beautiful rainbow scales. She found them, Jinho said. Her family is in there? Where? Nari asked. Jinho pointed. To the dark asteroid. Inside that rock. It's not just an asteroid, it's their base. They stared at the scanner readings. You're right. There are metal structures inside that thing, and a lot of power signatures. How many ships are guarding it? Jinho asked. Nari counted the dots on her screen. I see at least 6 destroyers. And maybe 20 smaller ships. Plus whatever is inside the asteroid base. Minji put her hand on Jinho's shoulder. This is suicide. We can't fight all those ships. Jinho looked down at Hana. The little dragon was trembling with excitement and fear. She was so close to her family, but they were trapped in the most heavily guarded pirate base in the galaxy. Any smart person would turn around and leave. Any reasonable person would say it was impossible, but Jinho was not smart or reasonable. He was stubborn. We're not going to fight them, Jinho said. We're going to sneak in. How? They asked. Jinho smiled. The same way we got this ship. We pretend to be someone else. 30 minutes later, the Lucky Star was flying toward the pirate base. But now it was sending false signals that made it look like a Reaper cargo ship returning from a raid. Cargo ship Red Fang requesting docking permission, Nari said into the radio, using her best pirate voice. Red Fang, you're early, came the reply from the base. What's your cargo? Rare animals from the outer systems, Nari replied. The boss will want to see these personally. There was a pause. Then, docking bay 7 is open. Proceed slowly. The asteroid opened up like a flower. Huge metal doors revealed a docking bay carved out of solid rock. Lights showed them where to land. I can't believe that worked, Day whispered. Don't celebrate yet, Jinho said. The hard part is just starting. They landed the ship in the docking bay. Through the windows, Jinho could see pirates loading and unloading cargo from other ships. Most of the pirates were human, but some were. Other alien races, all of them carried big weapons. Remember the plan, Jinho said. Day and Nari created distraction. Minji and I find the dragon family. Hana guides us to them. What kind of distraction? Day asked. Blow something up. You're good at that. Day grinned. I like this plan. They left the ship wearing stolen pirate uniforms and fake ID badges. Jinho carried Hana in a small cage, pretending she was just another captured animal. The inside of the asteroid base was huge. Tunnels and corridors had been cut into the rock. The air smelled like oil and metal. Pirates walked around everywhere, talking and laughing. Jinho followed Hana's directions through the maze of hallways. The little dragon was getting more excited with each step. Her family was very close now. They found the prison section in the deepest part of the base. It was a large cave filled with cages of all sizes. Inside the cages were creatures from dozens of different worlds. Some Jinho recognized. Others looked like nothing he had ever seen. And in the center, in 3 large cages, were the most beautiful creatures Jinho had ever seen. The adult dragons were twice as big as horses, with scales that changed colors like rainbows. Their wings were folded against their backs, and their eyes were the same bright purple as Hana's. When they saw Hana, they made sounds of pure joy. Hana answered with excited chirps and squeaks. Family reunion, Minji said softly. Not yet, Jinho said. First we have to get them out. The cages were locked with electronic systems that needed keycards, but Jinho had brought something better than keycards. He had brought his plasma cutter. He was halfway through cutting the first lock when alarms started going off all over. The base? That's our distraction, Jinho said with a smile. Explosions echoed through the tunnels. Emergency lights flashed red. Pirates ran past the prison entrance, shouting about fires in the engine room. Jinho cut faster. The first cage opened, and a huge dragon stepped out. It looked at Jinho with intelligent eyes and made a deep rumbling sound that felt like gratitude. More explosions. The lights went out for a moment, then came back on. Hurry, Minji said. They'll figure out it's a trick soon. Jinho cut open the second cage, then the third. All 3 adult dragons were free now. They gathered around Hannah, touching her with their noses and making happy sounds, but their celebration was cut short by the sound of running feet. A squad of heavily armed pirates appeared at the prison entrance. "Stop right there!" The lead pirate shouted. "Drop your weapons!" Jinho stepped in front of the dragon family. He was not armed with anything but his plasma cutter. The pirates had military-grade blasters that could cut him in half. He should have been scared. He should have surrendered. Instead, he felt angry. These criminals had hurt a child. They had separated a family. They captured innocent creatures and sold them like objects. "No," Jinho said simply. The lead pirate laughed. "No, you're outnumbered 10-1, human." "Maybe," Jinho said, "but you made one big mistake." "What's that?" "You hurt my family." The biggest dragon, who Jinho guessed was Hannah's father, stepped up beside him. The other two dragons moved to flank the pirates. Their eyes were glowing bright purple now, and the air around them shimmered with heat. The pirates suddenly looked a lot less confident. "Dragon fire burns at 3,000 degrees, Jinho said conversationally. "Hot enough to melt steel." "Or pirates." The dragons opened their mouths. Deep inside their throats, fire began to glow. The pirates dropped their weapons and ran. Jinho looked at the dragon family and grinned. "Now let's get out of here." Getting out of the pirate base was harder than getting in. Alarms were screaming everywhere. Pirates were running through the hallways with weapons. Looking for the people who had blown up their engine room, Jinho led the dragon family through the back tunnels toward the docking bay. The three adult dragons had to crawl because the tunnels were too small for them to walk normally. Hana flew ahead, showing them the way. "This way," Minji called from behind them. "Day and Nari are bringing the ship around." They reached the docking bay just as the Lucky Star came flying in through the entrance. The ship was smoking from blaster hits, and sparks were flying from one of its engines. "That doesn't look good," Jinho said. Day's voice came over their radio. "Headsets. The ship's hurt bad. We can fly, but not for long." Pirates were shooting at them from the upper levels of the docking bay. Red laser beams flashed through the air. One beam hit the ground next to Jinho's feet, melting the metal floor. The biggest dragon, Hana's father, spread his wings wide and roared. The sound was so loud that pieces of rock fell from the ceiling. Fire shot from his mouth, creating a wall of flame between them and the pirates. The other two dragons did the same thing. Soon the whole docking bay was filled with dragon fire. The pirates had to hide behind metal crates to avoid being burned. "Now!" Jinho shouted. They all ran for the ship. The loading ramp was down, and Nari was waiting for them with a blaster in her hands. She was shooting at any pirate who tried to get close. The dragons reached the ship first. They were too big to fit through the normal entrance, so they used their claws to tear a bigger hole in the ship's side. "They're wrecking my ship," Day complained over the radio. "I'll buy you a new one," Jinho called back as he and Minji climbed aboard. The Lucky Star lifted off just as more pirate ships arrived. The small cargo vessel flew through the asteroid field with 5 enemy destroyers chasing it. "They're gaining on us," Nari reported. "And our engines are dying," Jinho looked at the dragon family. They were crowded into the cargo hold, barely fitting in the small space. Hana was curled up next to her mother, purring with happiness. The biggest dragon, who had been watching Jinho carefully, suddenly did something unexpected. He reached out with one claw and touched Jinho's forehead. Pain shot through Jinho's head like lightning. He fell to his knees, screaming. The world went white, then black, then white again, but inside the pain, something else was happening. He could feel the dragon's mind touching his. Not just sharing pictures like Hana did, but sharing something much deeper. Life force, energy, the very thing that kept dragons alive for thousands of years. "Jinho," Minji knelt beside him as he collapsed. "What's happening?" The dragon was making deep rumbling sounds. The other dragons joined in, creating a chorus that filled the ship. Hana crawled over and put her small claws on Jinho's chest. Power flowed into him. Not human power, but something ancient and strong. His body felt like it was on fire, but a good fire that healed instead of burned. When it was over, Jinho opened his eyes. He felt different, stronger, like he could run for miles without getting tired. The bond, Minji whispered, staring at him. They've bonded with you. The dragon father looked at Jinho with glowing purple eyes. Suddenly, Jinho could understand what the dragon was thinking, just like he could with Hana. You saved my family. Now we are your family too, but why? Jinho asked out loud. Because you are different. Your kind does what others will not do. You protect the innocent, even when it costs you everything. More explosions rocked the ship. They were still being chased by the pirates. This is touching and all, Day called from the pilot seat, but we're about to be blown up. The dragon father stood up as much as he could in the small space. He looked at his family. Then at Jinho, we will not run anymore. The 3 adult dragons moved to the torn opening in the ship's side. They spread their wings and jumped out into space. No! Jinho shouted, thinking they would die in the vacuum, but dragons were tougher than that. They could survive in space for short periods, and they were very, very angry at the pirates who had kept them in cages. What happened next became a legend that spacers would tell for generations. The 3 dragons flew directly at the 5 pirate destroyers. Ships that could destroy planets suddenly found themselves facing creatures that breathed fire hot enough to melt through armor plating. Dragon fire works in space. It's not really fire at all, but superheated plasma that can cut through anything. The dragons tore through the pirate ships like knives through paper dot in less than 10 minutes. All 5 destroyers were floating wreckage. The dragons flew back to the Lucky Star and somehow squeezed back inside through the hole they had made. Well, Day said into the sudden silence. That was impressive. 3 months later, Jinho stood on the porch of his ranch house, watching Hana play with her baby brother who had hatched just last week. The dragon family had decided to stay on his planet instead of going back to their old home. Minji came out of the house carrying 2 cups of coffee. The news reporters are here again, she said. Tell them to go away, Jinho replied. We don't want to be famous. But they were famous anyway. Word had spread across the galaxy about the human cowboy who had rescued a dragon family from the most dangerous pirates in space. Other alien races started coming to their planet just to meet them. Most aliens had never seen humans before. They had heard stories about how humans were young and weak compared to older races. But when they met Jinho and his dragon family, they learned something new about humans. Humans don't calculate odds when someone needs help. They don't worry about profit or safety when innocents are in danger. They just do what's right, even when it seems impossible. The ranch became a meeting place for different alien races. Species that had been enemies for centuries came there to talk and learn from each other. They wanted to understand this strange human concept of chosen family. Hana, now fully grown, had become a translator between humans and other aliens. She helped them understand each other's languages and customs. The Galactic Council officially recognized the ranch as neutral territory. Wars stopped at the property line. Peace talks happened in the barn where Jinho kept his cattle. Jinho himself had not aged a day since the dragon bonding. Minji had received the same gift when she married into the dragon family. They would live for thousands of years now, helping different species learn to work together, but the most important change was not political or galactic. It was personal. Every evening, Jinho would sit on his porch with his wife, watching their human children play with young dragons in the yard. Different species, but one family dot, and when new visitors arrived, refugees, lost travelers, or scared aliens running from danger, they always found the same thing at the ranch, a stubborn, human cowboy who refused to let anyone suffer alone, because that's what humans do. They make family out of strangers and turn the impossible into just another day's work. The galaxy was a better place because of it.